SML, welcome back to Bushwhacker Breakdown, the off-season edition. I'm excited to be back. How about you, Dan?
Oh man, this is a good time of the year. We're coming off a Bushwhacker Super Bowl. I mean, you rule the AFC, I rule the NFC. What else could be better than having now a Bushwhacker breakdown where we just dump on a bunch of these teams midway through the offseason, where some of them they can maybe fix it by the time this recording comes out, and others of them they're just gonna have to sit in their misery because they totally screw up their offseason. So I'm excited that we can jump into this.
Yeah, so right now we still have the last round of free agency. I don't think there's too many big names that are going to really make a difference. Still a couple guys out there, but nothing huge. And then obviously the draft tonight, so that could really change some of these guys' fortunes. But let's jump right in. Do you want to start with your top team in the AFC or first team in the AFC?
Yeah, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to break it down by division here, and I'm going to take the AFC side since I'm an NFC guy. You're going to take the NFC side, and then we both kind of interact on some of these things. So I'm going to start right off in the AFC East, and we're going to kind of break down the four teams in the AFC East. And right off the top, we got the Bills, who won the division, and I'm going to give Woods a good offseason because he hasn't done much. Now, he made some big moves during season to get some guys, but Woods has traditionally tried to be over-aggressive, and this offseason he hasn't done much, and that's exactly how you want to play with this Bills team. So I'm giving Woods a good offseason. I'm going to Mike with the Dolphins. I'm giving Mike a good offseason with a little kind of hesitation because he hasn't hit on that running back that he needs yet. But good offseason landing Von Miller. Good offseason even getting some receivers. Good job. Hey, Figs, you're not going to get this very often, but hey, good offseason. Good offseason so far, man. You went and got a better quarterback in Derek Carr, and you didn't trade away all your assets for more speed. So I know in season maybe wasn't good, and I'm sure we might go back to it. But right now, Figs, live in the moment. You had a good offseason. And then finally, I'm going to the Jets and not Tiny, but KJ. And I'm going to say to be determined because he traded everything away for draft picks. Now KJ loves the draft. He loves to, and he's done pretty well in the draft. So I'm gonna give him a holdout, but it could actually be one of the worst off seasons if he doesn't have a good draft. So a lot of pressure on KJ in this draft because he got rid of Wilson, got all these picks. He's got to have a great draft, but I'm going to be to be determined for him. So what do you think about that, Palmer?
Yeah, I like the Woods. I think he did have a good offseason by not touching his team. I think having Josh Allen there, like he mentioned it in chat, the first time in a long time he hasn't been going for a quarterback. So I think that kind of helped him not have to make moves to scramble and find a quarterback. Mike getting Von Miller's huge. Swaps out Fuller for Christian Kirk. Kind of a wash there. But he picks up Von Miller, and I think that's big. He does need to address that running back situation, but I think we may see a lot of Tua this year anyway, so who knows if he even runs the ball. Fig had a good offseason. I like the Carr deal for him. This league has an expiration date, so getting a guy like Mac Jones, long term might be better, but Carr is going to be good enough for the next 4 seasons. And then KJ, I agree. It's to be determined. He picked up his extra picks. He drafts well, but he has no plan at quarterback. And that could be a mistake, especially this year. He's traded down to 5 as his first pick. He traded Wilson away. He didn't like a quarterback at 3, so he was going to go a different position there anyway. Curious to see what he does. I think he's got a bid in on Carson Wentz, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so that means we're going to move on to the NFC East, and NFC East really quiet. Not many trades in the NFC East. Now we did see Washington. They picked up Hawkinson and moved 2 second-round picks for him. But DW has the number 1 pick. He's taken the Heisman-winning quarterback. He did nothing in free agency. I think he got outbid on a couple guys, but he didn't really add anything there. Quarterback, I think, really was the only thing missing from there. So if he has a quarterback at 1, and then he got Hawkinson, who's a clear upgrade over the tight end that he had that I can't even say, Logan Thomas, yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a good offseason for DW. The Eagles, 4 draft picks, didn't do anything with his signings, no trades. We'll see what Dump does. Dump's not even going to be there at the draft, I think. So we'll see if the computer helps his offseason. So I think that's not really a win. We'll call that a to be determined, like you said with KJ. The computer could either set him up for success or just completely destroy him and draft the first 4 quarterbacks that are available. Grams was quiet until today. He picked up pick number 32, moved Lawrence. I think that's probably a good offseason for him. He didn't really lose anybody. The 2 picks are going to be big. We know he's going to take either a receiver or a corner with both of them. So it probably won't be a very good offseason when it's all said and done, but it has the potential to be good. And then Paulie added another first-round pick. He added 3 offensive linemen and a defensive tackle in free agency. Nothing crazy. No one great or anything, but they're solid offensive linemen and a defensive tackle. The big one is he picks up that number 20 pick, so he's got 7, 10, and 20. So he has the potential to have a really good offseason. I just don't know where he's going to go. Looking at his team, maybe he goes receiver, but he's got Galladay, Slayton, and Tony. He's already got Evan Ingram. The defensive line isn't bad. I would assume he's probably going to try and upgrade that linebacker position because if there's a weak spot, maybe that's it. But for the most part, the Giants team actually doesn't look that bad outside of the quarterback, Daniel Jones. He's already addressed the offensive line. So that's my NFC East breakdown.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, this division is going to be owning the draft tonight. I think there's maybe 8 or 9 first-round picks out of these 4 teams.
It's actually 10 for these 4.
10. Yeah, and DW's got the number 1 overall. So this division of all of them is probably the most to be determined on how the draft goes, which makes me really worried about Paulie because traditionally speaking, he has not done well in the draft. So to put 3, all this kind of stock and what you mentioned, the Giants are good at a lot of positions, but not great. And now he's got 3 first-round picks. I would have loved to see him package some of that stuff and go bigger, get some great players, or make a big splash move. He's playing more depth, which I'm not so sure. And as you mentioned, Dump, he's betting a lot on this draft and he won't be there. Graham's got some cap issues. So this is going to be a fun division to see what happens tonight. All right, so we're going to go from that division to the AFC South. And, man, a lot of activities right off kind of at the top there. But we'll first start with Beans because he's the one that actually won the division. And Beans, I'm actually going to give a bad offseason because he hasn't really done anything. And last I checked, he only had 4 offensive linemen. So this Titans team is a team that, you got some questions with your quarterback. You got some older, well, at least Julio Jones is older. Obviously you want to rely on Henry. Had a lot of success last year, but man, in these moments here, the GOAT is coming. Other teams are loading up, and for you to not do anything, where Woods that was a good thing, Beans that's just not a good thing. So next we got Colts, man, and as of right now, I think he's won the offseason. So congratulations, Prime. You flipped this pretty rough roster into a pretty dynamic potential offense with picking up Baker. Picking up, I forget the name of the receiver off the top of my head, but nice free agents. Well, he got Fuller to trade, but then he got the one in the, got the superstar one in the
Deontay
free
Harris.
agents. Yeah, Deontay Harris. And then also he hit the lottery on the abilities with Bulldozer and Evasive for Jonathan Taylor. So, man, a lot of big expectations in Indianapolis. Good offseason. Matt, I'm going to give you kind of the good because you didn't do much. Jaguars are young. That's a team you don't want to mess with. I know you flirted with getting rid of Lawrence and some other moves, but actually going to give you a good grade for not doing anything. And then ZZ, man, wow, what a crazy offseason. First, it was disastrous, one of the worst ones by letting Ross go. But then I think you actually made a really good move, and you flipped your first, which we criticized you last year for doing that for John Ross. But Hardman is so much better than Ross because Hardman's younger. He's got more upside, and I think your potential flip won't be as bad as what this year was. So I'm a believer in you, ZZ. You went from bad to good, so it kind of put you right in the middle. And good job on kind of salvaging that. What do you think, Bobber?
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head. Terrible offseason for Bean. He did nothing. Coming off a season where he kind of lost control of the AFC South at the end, and you just watched Prime get exponentially better, and Matt get better as well. And meanwhile, Bean just kind of sat there content with what he had. I think that's going to be an issue and may push him to the third team in the AFC South. Matt had a good offseason. He didn't trade Lawrence, which was probably a good move. And then Prime, obviously, he got his quarterback. He was going to get a quarterback somewhere. I feel like maybe he overpaid for Baker, but he had to get a quarterback. And adding him with those receivers he's got is going to make that offense, exponentially better. And then
we'll talk about the other side of the Baker one when it comes to your turn. But for right now, I agree with you. I think he did a good job getting the right quarterback for him.
Yeah, and then as far as ZZ, I'd agree. It was an up and down. I think he's right in the middle. He started off letting Ross walk. Somehow didn't know what happened. I don't know, but Ross walks after he gives up a first for him, and then he gets that first round swap with Spades and picks up Hardman. Hardman already superstar, going to get the benefit of the easier ability to dev him. He's younger, he's better, and hell, he might even be faster. So he got everything in that deal. And then with Spades didn't go very far in the playoffs last year. Still in the AFC North, so there's a good chance he could miss the playoffs. I just think that was a good one for ZZ, and it saved his offseason.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So moving on to the NFC South then. First up, we've got the Panthers and Faz. Faz hadn't really done much as far as trades until just now. He traded his receiver that was kind of the odd man out after signing OBJ. He signs OBJ, trades Terrence Marshall, picks up the Bears' third-round pick, which I think is 10 in the third round. So not a bad pick.
Yeah, it's early.
He used his free agency to refill his O-line. He got his fullback, and then, like I said, added to OBJ, which allowed him to pick up that third. I think it was kind of just a meh offseason. OBJ's a big addition, but I think he would have liked to shore up a little bit more on the run defense. So kind of up right in the middle. We'll see what he does. He's got pick 13, which is Spooky's pick that he got for that C.J. Henderson trade. I'd expect him to go defense there, but we'll see what Faz does that can kind of make or break his offseason. Getting Jordan Love to superstar was big for his offseason as well. Then we have your team. So you signed Huntley. That was going to be my backup quarterback, but Madden removed my bid, and I didn't even realize it because he was so far down the list. Then you signed Jalen Smith from me. You got Linval Joseph, and then you picked up James Washington, a pick guy. Nothing too crazy there. Jalen Smith, I think, will be good, but he's going to be sitting next to Deion Jones anyway. And then, you have your Dan backer. So I don't know how much Jalen Smith will play, or you're going to move him around. But then you added Javonte Williams. I think that was the biggest move. DeMarcus Lawrence, not a bad move either. You give up a first, a fifth, and a seventh for him. But to me, that Javonte Williams move is going to be big. Not so much for Patrick, but Williams is going to turn into probably your stud running back. That's going to last for the cycle, and probably with your luck, he'll get Freight Train and Bruiser and whatever else, maybe Spin Cycle. But the funniest part was that you traded Alberto right back to Colt and picked up two better guys again. So that minor league in Denver is really working out for the Falcons. Coming off a Super Bowl win, I'd say that's a win in the offseason. Saints did absolutely nothing. And actually, I'm going to skip the Saints first because I'll go to the Bucks. Bucks kind of confused and traded for Khalil Mack, gave up 2 first-round picks and a young linebacker in Tryon. Sends sends a first for Tuitt and the Steelers second.
Yeah.
So beefing up the defense, but with older guys, which kind of makes sense because he's got Brady. It's almost like he's making a push now, and then I don't know what he's going to do the rest of the cycle as everyone ages out. But he does still have pick 18. He picked up Fuller in the in free agency to kind of help his secondary. So not a great offseason. It seems like he's building up for a a Super Bowl run, but he was the fourth team in the AFC South or NFC South, so and no playoff win. So we'll see if that pushes him over the top. But the one I want to talk about is the Saints. Saints did nothing. I assume Future just didn't get on. No free agents. Now I think he was a little bit strapped for cap. No trades. And then if we look at his roster, that means he let Jameis Winston go. So he's got no quarterback other than Taysom Hill and Ian Book. He let Deontay Harris go, the receiver that Prime signed. That's the superstar. Just didn't really do anything to add to the team. So it's got to be a big L on the offseason for Future, just for a lack of doing anything and just watching the team kind of fall apart.
Yeah, we didn't mention this with the Giants, but the same thing's true with the Saints. They're really up against the cap. Now the Giants have a bigger issue because they have 3 first-round picks, and I think he's going to go negative after the draft. But the Saints are a team you can't just really just kind of let roll from one offseason to the next because they're so old and they're so up against the cap. So I agree with you with Future there. Faz, I think missed an opportunity, but we'll see if he salvages in the draft. I think he could have made some different moves and maybe gone bigger. But I'm with you on the Bucs, man. I just don't know what they're doing. I know he believes his run defense needs to be fixed, and he went all in. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go more all in on a run defense. And so I hope that fixes that issue. But man, Tom Brady's sitting there. He's getting old. He can't move. He's a statue. Still has the abilities, but he's got barely a season left. And then again, you just missed some opportunities. For me, I didn't really have too many options. I kind of felt like Prime a little bit. I didn't have too much in the cupboard to work with, but I'm happy with some of the things that I got. I think will help just kind of continue to build the team that I'm trying to build here. And who knows? Hopefully in a draft or two, I could pick up some guys that I need. But it's I think there's going to be a shifting a little bit. Future won the NFC South last year, and unfortunately, I think his team took a big step back. But
yeah.
All right, what's that?
I was just agreeing with you. Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's head now to the AFC North. And another big kind of super division here, a team or division that had 4 double-digit winners in it. And so we'll start out with QP and the Ravens, who won the division. And before we almost started recording this, it was kind of like a nothing kind of move so far this year for his offseason. But he struck a deal with Meats and picked up a really nice young cornerback. I think it was a really strong move from QP. So I'm going to give him a good offseason. He didn't have to do a lot with this team. But getting a 22-year-old cornerback that's already a star, potential stud, was a great move. So I'm gonna give him a good offseason. Then we go to the Browns, man. Wow. You know what? I'm going to give you a 2 to be determined because I need to see the draft. But you have a chance to actually potentially take over Prime for the best offseason. If you hit on that quarterback and you added a defensive tackle, you added Figs pick next year, his first round pick next year, you added some other things, man, you're going to have this team rolling like any before. And I don't think you have to get a home run quarterback. You just got to get someone that's serviceable. So I think you're set up really good, but I can't give you a good grade yet until I see what that quarterback is. Trading with Prime, we'll discuss that one for seasons to come. And if he goes off and wins the Lombardi, you'll probably kick yourself. But I think you got a really good deal out of that. Next is the Steelers, man. Spades. I'm actually going to call you out right now, man. I'm gonna label you right now as the worst offseason in the AFC. And the only reason why I do it is you gave up Hardman for not that much of a gain. I think it's a gain. I think it wasn't a bad trade, but I think you could have gotten a lot more for him. And then you go and turn around and you sell 3 first-round picks for a 33-year-old quarterback. And then you talk about in the chat that you're not sure you can make the playoffs. Well, why sell everything to get an old quarterback if you don't think you can win it? So right now, I'm giving you the worst offseason just because of the logic and the thought process behind it. Monty, did a few decent things. He got a really good Linebacker, I think you got Brown. Got some abilities there. I think that was a good move, good pickup there. Haven't really done too much other than that, which is probably a decent thing considering the Bengals are good in the right position. So I'm going to give you a good offseason for that. So what do you think, Bomber? First, I guess I want to hear what do you think about your trade and your offseason?
No, I think that's fair that it's to be determined. It depends how that quarterback turns out. I think it's got to be really bad for it to be a bad trade as far as the quarterback goes. The plan after the Super Bowl was probably to come in a very run-heavy team. It's much like the NFL. It's a copycat league, and I think I'll probably copy some things from that game. And I didn't need Baker Mayfield to do it. I didn't need to pay a guy $24 million to hand off to Chubb. I didn't want to send him to Prime. And I made that pretty clear in the chat and in the Twitter. And but if you look around the league with the guys that needed quarterbacks, they either had their draft picks to get the quarterbacks or they were comfortable where they were. So I gave it to Prime. He was going to get a quarterback regardless with that fig pick. So I figured I might as well get the fig pick instead of letting Baker walk. Baker with crap abilities anyway it ensures that I don't have to worry about gunslinger and an escape artist or any of those good ones ending up in Indianapolis, which moments after I traded him Baker, Spooky sends Russell Wilson to Pittsburgh. So Prime with Russell Wilson I think is more dangerous than with Baker. So I'll take my chances there. And then I got what I thought was a pretty decent haul, superstar defensive tackle, bunch of picks, not even counting Fig's pick next year, which hopefully Figs willing will end up being a really good pick. As far as the rest of the NFC, QP, huge move getting Asante Samuel. I know you gave Spades the worst GM of the offseason award, but I'm going to save that for the other end of that Asante Samuel deal. Spades deal, I was confused when he sent Devin Bush for Hardman, and then now he sends Hardman and essentially in some picks to get Russell Wilson back after and then he says he's not gonna make the playoffs anyway. So not really sure there what's going on. Monty, you're right. He did have a nice signing in Jayon Brown, but if I remember correctly, Jayon Brown was already his, and he didn't re-sign him.
I didn't realize
he
that.
He did the same with Gronkowski, and then re-signed him in free agency. So I don't know what they wanted, but I assume he just overpaid his own guys. So,
he did.
That's probably closer to the bottom of the offseason for me.
Yep.
But that's going to take us then to the NFC North. And in the NFC North, we'll start with the Packers. Packers didn't really do much. Packers can't really do much. He did lose Zadarius Smith. Had to cut him in order to keep Davante Adams. He's got 2 first-round picks in 27 and 29. Free agency didn't really do nothing. It looks like he signed about 7 or 8 guys, but they were all the bottom of the free agency barrel, just trying to fill roster spots with guys that are making $500,000 to $1 million a season. Basically the minimum contracts he can to hit that 53 number without having 12 punters. So there's not much he could have done. We'll give him a middle of the road for that. He did keep Davante Adams, so maybe it's a win. I think that was a big deal, and a lot of people said it was something that couldn't be done, and he was able to do it. Where he may have an issue is he's got to find a quarterback because Rodgers ain't going to last forever, but maybe he can get two more seasons out of him. We'll see. Then we have the Lions. Lions have picked 2 and 8, so the draft is really going to determine their offseason. Hasn't really made any trades. He's probably going to take quarterback at number 2, and then 8. I don't know what he's going to do there because the Lions need so much. But he brought in a safety in Phillips. He got Juju, so that helps his wide receiver room. He picked up Zadarius Smith that we just talked about getting cut from the Packers. He got Sidney Jones, Larry Ogunjobi, and a right guard as well. So he's adding a little bit of depth and a couple star players to that team. And then 2 and 8 should help. Probably a quarterback and then probably something else on offense. He just traded away Hawkinson, so maybe I think 8's too high for a tight end, but we could see maybe a receiver there, especially if that top one is there at 8. So that could be a win depending on how the draft goes and how those rookies turn out. I'm going to say a win for Two-Step. Two-Step has no first-round picks. He had 1-5. He traded pick 5 in the second round, and next year's second for Zach Wilson and fourth-round pick. So I think that's a win. I don't think he was going to get, at least not guaranteed, a Zach Wilson caliber quarterback at 5. I don't think he's sold on Kellen Mond. And with that being his only trade, he can still move Mond if there's somebody that wants to give him a shot. You may not get too much for him, but you can at least give it a shot. And then he signed Derek Barnett, Raekwon McMillan, Mike Hughes, and Valdez Scantling. So he added some decent pieces through free agency. Big thing was that he went out, got his quarterback. He doesn't have to worry about a quarterback now. And I think that was big. I don't think Kellen Mond is a good fit for Two-Step. I'm not necessarily sure Zach Wilson will be either, but it's definitely an upgrade. And he was going quarterback either way. Might as well know what you're getting. And then the last one is the Bears. So he traded Khalil Mack. He's got pick 19, pick 21, and Tryon. So that fills a need at linebacker, and then he's got the 2 first-round picks there. He's got Marshall, so he adds a receiver after letting Allen Robinson walk. He picked up Tart in free agency, 2 centers for some reason. Maybe he had 2 bids in and didn't realize.
One of both.
And then he got Kaiser White, middle linebacker. So really beefing up his team. He's getting some stuff done. We'll see what he gets with the 2 picks. You know, Finn's used to picking at the top of the draft, but now he's going to be picking kind of back third. So we'll see what he can do there, especially with the scouting. But same thing. He wasn't going to win with that roster, so getting rid of Mack, I think, is good. Picking up a young receiver in Marshall is good. So we'll see what he does there. I'm gonna give that a win though for the offseason. Hopefully that's pending the draft picks, but I think he'll do fine.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Packers. I think Packers, Saints, and Cowboys all kind of the same boat. A lot of good older players, cap issues. I think Noel did a good job with what he had. Lions, again, good. Not much to work with. It wasn't like he could trade a lot of pieces, but picked up some solid guys. Draft's going to be important for him. Vikings, I agree with you. I think they're the best offseason in this NFC North by picking up Zach Wilson. I'm always a believer in getting a young guy that instead of just gambling in the draft, because we've all seen the gambles in the draft. Sometimes, you strike out and then you're stuck. So good move getting Zach Wilson. And then same thing with Finns. Didn't have much without a first-round pick. Had some older players. Not getting rid of Fields was probably his best move. And then some of his other ones. So really good one there. Overall, I think the NFC North did pretty solid. So good job, NFC North. All right, we're going to head out.
Before you move on, still a little bitter, though, that he didn't trade Fields for my initial offer. Because now I had to trade him to Prime. But, I think keeping Fields was probably the right move for him, too. But he could have had Baker 9 and another first. But he made me deal with Prime.
So now he's basically got Fields and a later teens first-round pick. So, I don't think he lost out too much on that. But, from your end, especially as a Buckeye fan, you probably lost out a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm still a little bitter.
So I think you just need to change your new quarterback's name to an old Buckeye guy. So
there aren't many good ones to choose from.
So we're in the AFC West here, and again, right before we were doing this, I was going to give Meats a nice offseason because he's been moving back, he's been getting picks, and then out of nowhere he goes out and he trades his best young quarterback, future stud, Asante Samuel Jr. and I'm just kind of baffled by this. He picks up a 30th overall, which he'll be lucky to get even close to the same kind of player there. And then all he gets out of it is a bonus third round and Duvernay, which, obviously is a homer move for him. So, Meets up, man, I got to give you a bad offseason for that. Then Colt, man, I unfortunately, dude, I got to give you a bad one too. I think it's bad, not because of the trade with me. I think you kind of got stuck with my trade, but I'm going to give you a bad one because you put all that money in John Ross, man. The one thing that you probably look at the Broncos and you think is, man, they need more receivers. and you go out and then you get put all that money into John Ross. I know you said you got stuck a little bit, but man, you can't play with fire there and be shocked that you get burned sometimes. So, man, bad off season just for doing that. D-Muse, I don't hate the moves. Getting Mac Jones, I think there could be some positive if you're willing to make the right decision there. So it's kind of an iffy one. I kind of give you a to kind of be determined type thing. Just because I need to see how you're going to play with Mac Jones. Can you adjust to that kind of more of a check down, more of a quick read offense? So we'll see on that. But I don't hate it, but I'm not too excited about either. And then Coop, I loved a lot of your off seasons before this. So mid-season, picking up Devin Bush, I thought was a great move. I thought getting Hunt was a great move. So that kind of limited your offseason. The only thing I'm really kind of saying about a bad right now is I think last I checked, you only have 2 receivers on your roster. And one of them is an 85 speed, pretty much slower than a tight end kind of guy. So, and I don't think the Chiefs have a lot of cap room to play around with. So you traded away your first. I don't know how many picks you got, but I don't think it's a lot. So a little nervous about what kind of receiving core you're going to have out there. But that's my view of the AFC West. What do you think, Bomber?
Well, I think Coop having a poor receiving core will help Meats because he traded away Asante Samuel, who is not only his going to be his second-year corner, he's his best corner. So he trades his number 1 corner away to get Devin Duvernay. I don't know. To me, that was the worst move. You just traded a stud defensive player for just a guy that you could get off free agency.
Well, he did get 130 though too.
Yeah,
we talked about 130. But what is that? I mean, who knows what that is?
That's where you're going to get Devin Duvernay. You're not going to get an Asante Samuel Jr. there. So
no,
really, I mean, you could, I suppose, you can find some steals in the draft, but you're trading a known for an unknown,
right?
And that known is pretty good. It's a second-year guy. He's cheap. You had him for another 3 years. I would give him the worst offseason. Colts in the running, though, with $100 million contract for John Ross. Another guy that's one of those speed horse. And he'll do whatever he can to get some speed. And then Coop didn't really see much in his offseason. Like you said, he's got no receivers, so he's going to have to add somebody. But the D-Muse move I actually like. We saw what he did with Russell Wilson when Wilson had no throw power. And he went and got Mac Jones. It's a young guy, a fairly manageable contract rather than re-signing Carr. He's a guy that doesn't need a ton of throw power to run the offense he wants. So I think that was a good offseason for him. But the rest of the AFC West, kind of a weak offseason.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so then we have the NFC West. We might as well call them the not participating in the draft West. Seahawks, actually, I think he actually just picked up 2 first rounds for that Russell Wilson deal. So
yeah, he did.
It hasn't processed in the game yet, but he'll have two picks. But that's it for them. Rams have no first round picks. 49ers have no first round picks, and neither do the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals. He traded Kirk for 2-6. If he wasn't going to use Kirk, he's got Rondale Moore to superstar. Might as well move him out and get something. 2-6. That's at the top of the second round, so that's a good pick. No real big free agent moves between the 4 teams. The Rams brought in Terron Armstead, so that's a fairly big move. I guess if you think offensive line is that important. But really the big one was Seattle moved Russell Wilson for 3 firsts. He also added Eskridge in there, but really it's Wilson for 3 firsts. I think he fleeced Spades, and that maybe is the best trade in the offseason. However, it's not the best offseason because now he has no quarterback. So I saw he has an offer in on Jameis Winston. Maybe he'll get him. Maybe the Cardinals, 49ers, or Rams or come out there and just put an offer in on Winston just to make him either pay for him or not have a quarterback at all, and then it really doesn't matter who he's got. So those teams, 49ers brought in Lindsey. They give up 38 and 102. Got Lindsey 116 and 148. Not really a big move there. It does help because he lost Alex Mack in the offseason to retirement, but very quiet for the NFC West outside of that Wilson trade for the most part. Just some smaller trades. So not really good or bad for any of them. Spooky, I think, maybe gets a bad offseason just because he's got no quarterback. He doesn't pick till 18. And then he said he may not make the draft either. So that's about all I got on the NFC West.
Yeah, I think it's pretty quiet. I think, again, good job from NYT managing the team and not overreacting with a good Cardinals team. Good job, Tiny, not trading Lance away. I know there was some pressure to do that. I think you did a good job. Fields, not much, again, you can do because of all the draft picks gone. Maybe you should have tagged Von Miller and traded him instead of just leaving him in free agency, but I don't know what your cap situation was. Maybe you were up against it. Spooky, good trade for Wilson, but we saw this all with the Bengals, man. You love your quarterbacks, and so to not have a plan in place, to not couple that with a trade to go get a quarterback, I don't get it. So great job with getting value for Wilson. Awful job with not trying to couple that with a plan to bring someone else in. So, there's a lot of strong arm quarterbacks out there. You could have tried to say, hey, I'll give you 2 first rounds for another quarterback. So you would have gotten a quarterback and a first round if you would have coupled those trades together. But we'll see what happens. But I'm really fearful you're going to be running with Jacoby Brissett or someone like that and complain the entire time out in Seattle. So
yeah, it made me. That was kind of what surprised me the most was after we just saw what he did with the Bengals. Didn't like Burrow. Didn't like. I think it was Brissett he had after that. Went and got a rookie. Traded Burrow, and then now he's got a quarterback and nope, got to get rid of him. So, we'll see what he does. I'm interested to see what the quarterback is. Like I said, there's still. It's only 4:00, so there's almost 4 hours still that you can trade. I'm assuming we'll shut that down when we go to the scouting phase at 7:45, maybe. So there's still some time he can get a quarterback, but I don't know if there's going to be one at 18. If one falls to 18, that's serviceable. I think there's about 4 or 5 in this draft that are serviceable, and there's a couple that have good throw power that may fall a little bit, but we'll see if they fall far enough for him to get them. And
I got 3 overall questions for you, Bomber. I want to discuss real quick before we're done here. First, what do you think about all the quarterbacks moving, all the prices for them? Just overall, we saw Wilson, we saw Baker, we saw the other Wilson, Zach Wilson move. We saw Carr and quite a bit of quarterback movement. What do you think? Was it a good offseason for these trades, or how's your view on this?
I think what maybe contributed to all this movement is kind of twofold. One, I think this Madden quarterback matters a little more. I don't think you can go out there with a Emory Leverett and just tear it up. I think it's a process now. But also I think the draft picks matter less. I think with the new scouting, there's people that are a little worried about the scouting and whether or not they're gonna hit on anybody or just completely whiff on it. You see guys like Spades trading all 3 of his picks. Who's the other one? Doinkface. He traded 2 firsts away for Mac, and then another one away for Tuitt. Guys trying to get that known commodity as opposed to going into the scouting with 40% scouted on somebody and hoping they hit on him because he had a draft story that said he threw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball.
Right.
So I think it's
do you
kind of a combination.
What do you think as you think of the draft? Like, is there any? I know you prepare. I know you tried some, not as much as maybe in the past. But is there any tip you would give to any of these guys? Is there I've heard you can't cycle through as fast as others. Like, you got to be prepared. You got to be ahead of what you're going to do. Is that your number one tip going into this draft?
Yeah, I think one thing, if I give a tip, would be if you haven't prepared up to this point, you're already kind of behind the curve. So what you can't do is get into that PSN party chat. In between picks, you need to be cycling through figuring out who your next pick is going to be. Maybe when you get like 10 picks away from your pick, find 10 guys. Start looking, find 10 guys you want, put them in the favorites. If you tab down to favorites, it was in the video I posted in chat. And it was, I think Colt showed me this, or Colt brought it up. I Googled it, found the video, and posted it. But where it has the regions, and you can go northeast, southeast, whatever. If you go all the way to the bottom of that, it's favorites, and that's where it'll put all your favorite guys. You can hold X on the guy, and you can move him up or down your list. What I would suggest is when you get about 10 picks out, put 10 guys there. 1 through 10, and then that way when it comes down to your pick, whatever guy is there, now maybe you have 5 of those guys left, and then you have something to decide. But at the very least, you're going to get one out of your top 10. That would probably be my only suggestion I can think of, because I'm behind the curve as well. I didn't really look into the scouting as much as I should have.
Now the other last question I think we talked a little bit about, and just curious your thoughts. Seems like some guys were overpricing guys in trades. It felt like, except outside of quarterback, but just trying to get some defensive guys, trying to get some other players. It seemed like the prices that people had were kind of ridiculous of overvaluing. Did you feel that as well too?
Yeah, I felt like prices were a lot higher than usual. And I think that kind of goes back to the same thing, though, of these draft picks are just not as valuable when people feel like they don't know what's going on. Just that unknown more than usual. Normally, you click the button 3 times, you've got 4 or 5 of his traits. Then you get your combine, which your combine is the only way to judge, their speed and all their physical attributes, as opposed to this year where I've seen a receiver, he's got solid speed, but when you look at the combine time, it's 4.39. So, and then you look at a guy that's got good speed, and it's like a 4.48 or 4.5 flat. So the issue, especially, and maybe it's just this first draft, we'll see how it goes going forward if we make it that far. But it'll be curious to see what matters more, the wording of solid, good, great, or the actual numbers from the combine.
Yeah, so some of these teams, they've got these multiple firsts, these I think as we looked at a lot of teams out there that have it. They could be the huge winners, or they could be the losers out of this, because we really don't know even how to tell whether or not there's a lot of depth in this draft or not. There's a lot of unknowns, so it's going to be a pretty wild night. So excited about that. But man, we're getting into season 2 here. I think the competition's rising up. I think some of the competitiveness is rising up. I think some of the little chippiness is starting to rise, which is all kind of good. It's all kind of fun. It makes these games matter a little bit more. So I'm excited for season 2. Again, I'm just throwing this out. Outside of you and me, who's your favorites in the AFC, NFC?
Outside of us, I would say got to go with Faz in the NFC. Jordan Love hitting superstar, I think, helps. I don't know that OBJ is going to make much of a difference in his offense or any of those, but just having another year with Carolina, and then Jordan Love is a long way from where he started, so I think that helps a lot. And then in the AFC, I think it's between Prime and Q. Q obviously still the better team, I think. He was in the AFC Championship last year, beat Prime in the playoffs, but Prime has really upgraded the offense. I mean, not only the trade to get Baker and Fuller and Deontay Harris and then Tunyon, he also got abilities on Jonathan Taylor, which I think is huge. Where I think he may be hurt, though, we'll see what he does in the draft. But he doesn't even have a pick, I think, till the 5th pick or 5th round. The defense hasn't really improved at all. Now, he did get Acrobat on Blackman, and he was able to hold on to Blackman this offseason, but I don't know that the defense improved enough to hang in there. Now he's going to put up a lot of points, but he may also give up a lot of points. But we'll see. We've seen Prime do a really good job with a not so great defense. So I think it's between those two for sure in the AFC.
I think on the NFC side, I think Faz is the slight favorite, but I think there's might be something broken about Faz too. And we've kind of hinted at this, the Bills, now the Panthers. There's been a shortcoming for him to get over that hump. So, and again, my team's still not there yet. So I think a team still like NYT. I think a team like Dump, if he gets it together, or Pauly gets it together, or even Future gets it together. I still think the NFC is a little bit more wide open. AFC, it seems like there's three big dogs. Don't count Matt out. Don't count Beans out with that freight train. I don't see anyone in the AFC West. I don't see anyone in the AFC East. I think it's all AFC North, AFC South in the AFC. So, man, it's going to be exciting. It's going to have a good time. We're pumped for this. If you have a problem with what we said, let us know about it, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. But thanks, guys, man, for checking us out. You got anything last to say, Bomber?
Yeah, just everybody hold your breath for the next 7 rounds, and we'll see if we get to season whatever it's going to be, 2.5 or 4 or whatever we want to call it. It'll be a tense 7 rounds. I know that much.